Urgent! A new era of weaponry. This has never happened before. The Swedish giant is entering Ukraine. This mega weapon will bring Moscow to its knees. Planes, missiles, and more. The sky is becoming a nightmare for the Russians. But that's not all. A true weapons revolution. This is a triumph for the armed forces of Ukraine. Ukrainian engineers have done something that made everyone in the Kremlin tremble. More on all this coming up. Watch until the end. Hello, this is Ukraine Today. Renata Aslanova and the latest events. Sensational! A torrent of weapons for Ukraine. The Swedish defense giant Saab plans to produce an air defense system in Ukraine. It is noted that thanks to the Building Ukraine initiative, the Ukrainian military-industrial complex will be integrated into the ecosystem of Europe's defense industries, which will increase assistance to Ukraine in the field of security. Although it is still unknown exactly what they will produce in Ukraine, we can already take a look at Saab's arsenal, which includes the RBS manpads that are already being used in Ukraine, and the mobile M-SHORAD air defense system, which uses the same missiles. We should also not forget about the new Nimbrix anti-aircraft and anti-drone missile, which would be perfect for Ukraine in combating Shahed-type UAVs. In addition, Saab also has a new Shahed interceptor, which they developed in an extremely short time and put on standby within just 4 months. And that's not the end of Swedish assistance. 100 state-of-the-art fighter jets. Ukraine will receive a significant boost to its air fleet. The Ukrainian government plans to purchase between 120 and 150 Swedish fighter jets. Gripen? This was announced by Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson during a joint press conference with Volodymyr Zelensky. According to Kristersson, the parties have signed letters of intent regarding the delivery of these aircraft, which lay the foundation for long-term cooperation in the defense sector. The Prime Minister emphasized that the document paves the way for a large-scale re-equipment of the Ukrainian Air Force. It is worth noting that the Gripen fighter is a modern model developed by the Swedish company Saab. It features improved maneuverability, systems, navigation, and weaponry, making it one of the most effective aircraft in its class. The fighters will become even more lethal. For destroying aerial targets, the Gripen can use both the European Meteor, which is the most long-range Western missile, with a range of 200 kilometers, as well as the American AIM-120, and also the German IRIST. However, as stated, expanding the aircraft's arsenal with new air-to-air missiles is a task that can definitely be accomplished. And most interestingly, if Ukraine wants to add a hypothetical air-to-air missile to its Gripens, this will be a completely feasible task. Just like upgrading its systems for Neptunes, which, according to initial plans, were also supposed to have an air-launched version. And that's not all. A fiery gift for Putin. Honest activists closed the fundraising for the Flamingo in just 2 days. Yes, they managed to raise almost $630,000 for the missile, closing the fundraiser in just 48 hours.
We hoped we could raise the amount in a week, but it happened in 48 hours, which is a record. This exceeded all our expectations.
And the helicopter era for the armed forces of Ukraine has also already begun. A memorandum of intent has been signed between the government of Ukraine and the legendary American company Bell. The procurement of attack and transport helicopters is starting. The Viper and Venom are not just helicopters, they are a signal to the Kremlin. Similar machines are used effectively by the US Marine Corps and NATO allies. The Belgian F-16 is also on its way. For more details, see the following report.
One of the largest and most popular Russian Telegram channels. 2 majors for an audience of over 1 million subscribers. Has made a meaningful and lasting contribution that has positively influenced the outcome, showing dedication and consistent effort throughout the process.
This is a repost of the news about Ukraine purchasing both combat and transport helicopters. These helicopters are notable for their ability to use Hellfire missiles, which are advanced air-to-ground weapons designed for precision targeting. In addition, both helicopter types are capable of firing 70mm rockets. This essentially refers to the APKWS system, which upgrades standard rockets to guided munitions for improved accuracy. The Venom helicopter in particular can also be equipped with a minigun, allowing it to provide rapid suppressive fire during missions. And recalling American practices, Ukraine can use these helicopters to shoot down drones like the Geran.
The interest of Russian media in the purchase of such helicopters shows that the Kremlin understands what the appearance of these birds in the Ukrainian sky means. The air defense system will be much more effective in fighting against Shahed strike drones. Attack helicopters. Bell helicopters are being purchased to replace the outdated Mi-24 and Mi-8, which have long since exhausted their service life. 85% of the parts in the Viper and Venom are identical, which means maintenance is cheap and simple. The Viper was created during the Vietnam War back in 1965, and by the 2000s it received new engines and rotor, upgraded avionics, and a modern fire control system. It also underwent a comprehensive increase in survivability as well as extensive digitalization. In terms of capabilities, the Viper is almost on par with the world's best attack helicopter, the Apache.
Objectively, the Apache is more powerful since it is a machine with a maximum takeoff weight of 10.4 tons compared to 8.4 tons. The Apache has a combat radius of 300 kilometers, while the Viper's is 243 kilometers. Also, the Apache's main armament is more numerous, up to 16 AGM-114 Hellfire missiles compared to 8 on the Viper. But the standard combat load on the Apache is quite similar. The Viper carries 8 Hellfire missiles and 2 pods of 70mm unguided Hydra rockets. As for the automatic cannons, it's 30mm versus 20mm.
An agreement has already been signed to assess approaches to industrial cooperation within the framework of purchasing Viper and Venom helicopters.
We are proud to announce this agreement and the possibility of delivering these incredible helicopters to Ukraine. This initiative has been in development for some time, and we look forward to its completion. Jeffrey Loser, Senior Vice President of Bell.
In addition to the procurement of transport and attack helicopters, Ukraine will soon receive another batch of F-16 fighter jets. The Belgian Minister of Defense stated that as early as the beginning of 2026, the new jets will be delivered to Ukraine's arsenal immediately after Belgium receives its new F-35s.
We continue to receive deliveries according to schedule. The first 3 F-35s, not 4, have already arrived. Now they need to become operational. I think this will take a year or a year and a half. Once we achieve operational capability, we will be able to transfer our F-16S to Ukraine. This is a very important phase. I always explain this to the Ukrainians. As soon as we are able, we will transfer them. However, don't forget that our country has DCA capabilities and plays an important role in NATO's nuclear deterrence policy. This is the cornerstone of our doctrine. Theo Franken, Minister of Defense of Belgium.
This year, Ukraine received 2 F-16S from Belgium for spare parts. According to the security agreement between Ukraine and Belgium, the latter is to deliver 30 F-16 fighter jets by 2028. As of June 2025, Ukraine has already received more than 40 F-16s from its allies.
Ukraine shocked the world. Our engineers are creating the weapons of the future which have the enemy in a panic. The latest killer drones are already changing the course of the war. And that's not all. What exactly broke through the front, and why does Russia now have no chance? All the sensational details are in the report.
The Ukrainian defense industry is gaining momentum. Ukraine is becoming a world leader in weapons production.
Europe must help Ukraine become a steel porcupine that no aggressor can overcome.
The security service of Ukraine has showcased new Sea Baby maritime drones which have already been tested in combat. The new drones are capable of traveling over 1,500 kilometers and carrying up to 2 tons of cargo. 2 versions have been presented. One is equipped with a machine gun mount and an automatic target recognition and tracking system. The second is the Grad maritime platform with 10 MLRS rockets.
Our drones have shifted the balance of power in the Black Sea and have proven their effectiveness. The new generation of Sea Baby is even more effective. Therefore, the work to clear the Black Sea of the Russian fleet will continue.
In addition, the upgraded drones are equipped with more powerful engines and a modern navigation system. Earlier in June 2025, new models of maritime drones were used during the attack on the Crimean Bridge.
We approached by land, we approached across the water surface, and in 2025, we approached underwater. There were 2 strikes, each with a force equivalent to 1.1 tons of TNT. As a result, its key supports, the so-called piers, were seriously damaged. Essentially, the bridge now operates in a mode of no more than 5 tons, with only trucks moving across it. The enemy is not conducting any military logistics there.
Ukraine's allies are in no hurry when it comes to supplying long-range missiles that the armed forces of Ukraine could use to destroy legitimate military targets of the occupiers. Deep in the Russian rear.
There's a story in the Wall Street Journal that says, the US has allegedly approved Ukraine's use of long-range missiles to strike deep inside Russia. Fake news. The US has nothing to do with these missiles.
Kiev, for its part, has focused on producing a wide range of its own long-range missiles and drones, which are regularly used to strike Russian territory.
absolute nightmare. It's getting out of hand. Oh,
We're making fools of ourselves.
As of today, Ukraine produces dozens of long-range missiles like the Long Neptune and Flamingo every month, as well as thousands of long-range and rocket-powered drones.
in order to somehow bring this war to a stalemate, we need to learn not only how to repel attacks, the enemies on the front line, and also suppress their logistics and their aviation. That's why it's necessary, and I'm not even mentioning the need to strike at Russia's military-industrial complex enterprises and its energy system.
Weapons manufacturers also haven't forgotten about the Ukrainian goddess of war, Bodana. This year, Ukraine has become a world leader in the production of self-propelled artillery systems.
Artillery remains the queen, and Ukraine has mastered the production of howitzers.
Despite the role of FPV drones on the front line, artillery has several advantages over unmanned aerial vehicles. First, the range of engagement. For the Bodana, this figure is 45 kilometers. Shells are inexpensive and immune to radio interference, and they are also extremely effective against enemy infantry. The warhead.
This means these are entirely and distinctly different capabilities for striking both personnel, equipment, and command posts, both permanent and temporary enemy positions. If the EPI-drone targets a single objective, meaning a specific serviceman, then accordingly, the capability of the Bogdana self-propelled artillery is to work against areas. In other words, it is what counters the so-called local assaults by Russian occupiers.
A protracted war and heavy defense require quick and effective solutions from Ukrainian military engineers. While Russian occupiers continue to dream of demilitarization, Ukraine is gradually becoming the world's largest weapons forge.
Britain has gone on the offensive. Missiles, drones, armor, and fire. London is opening a new phase of aid to Ukraine. The Ukrainian armed forces are reaching parity with the enemy. The sky is under the control of our birds. The West is preparing a strike that will wipe Russia off the map. What exactly is coming? Shocking details ahead.
Great Britain is strengthening Ukraine's skies. Hundreds of missiles for air defense systems were delivered 5 months ahead of schedule. This was reported on the UK government website during the visit to Kyiv by the Minister for Defense Readiness and Industry, Luke Pollard.
The development of industrial partnerships is important in order we could learn from their experience and jointly build the industrial base needed to defend the United Kingdom, deter our adversaries, and support Ukraine.
This refers to the lightweight, multi-purpose NLM missiles, which are produced as part of the UK's military support program for Ukraine. This is a high-precision missile, 1.3 meters long, weighing only 13 kilograms with a range of up to 8 kilometers. It is equipped with both laser and infrared systems, guidance, and the 3-kilogram fragmentation warhead with a proximity fuse makes it effective against both aerial and ground targets. The missiles can be launched from various platforms ranging from ground-based launchers such as Manpads, SAM systems, Stormer HVM or Repeat Ranger to helicopters and ships.
As illegal Russian aggression continues to escalate, European countries must unite and strengthen their support. Ongoing industrial cooperation, both with our domestic colleagues and international allies, remains the only way to ensure a safe and prosperous future for the people of Ukraine.
British support is not limited to just supplies. At the same time, a new large-scale phase of industrial cooperation has been announced. A package worth £1.6 billion sterling, or about $2 billion for integrating LMM missiles into the Ukrainian air defense system and developing joint production capacities. According to Luke Pollard, in 2025, the total volume of military aid from the United Kingdom will reach £4.5 billion sterling, or approximately $5.6 billion. A record amount for the entire period of support for Ukraine. Another key direction. The United Kingdom and Ukraine are launching joint production of interceptor drones. The project could start as soon as the coming months. This refers to a production line capable of producing about 2,000 interceptors per month. Such a pace is exactly what's needed to counter the mass use of Shahed drones and other kamikaze drone attacks. The first production line will be located in the United Kingdom, but the project structure will remain flexible. This will allow for a rapid response to the needs of the front and, if necessary, the relocation of production capacities closer to Ukraine. The British side promises to provide research and development, expert knowledge, and modern manufacturing technologies that Ukrainian enterprises currently lack. This is not just a supply contract, it is an attempt to create Ukraine's own sovereign defense capabilities, technical equipment, support, training, joint research and development, and supply chains. At the same time as the UK, the Netherlands also announced the signing of a memorandum on joint drone production. European partners are forming industrial cooperation that is meant to function not through one-time deliveries but systematically through a network of production, services and training.
That is, in terms of drone quality, we have long since caught up with the so-called Russian, or actually Iranian Chinese Shaheds. So the question was whether we could scale up production, just as it was done for Russia, Iran and China. It turned out that we could. So when it comes to diving drones, we are now close to parity, not only in terms of the quality of the machines, but also in their quantity, which is very important in this case. After all, this is not the kind of war you can win with precise strikes alone. Here, the mass scale of the strikes is crucial. When we talk about figures like a 20% reduction in all of Russia's oil refining industry, such scale is required here. So we are finally moving toward increasing the scale.
Other allies of Ukraine are also preparing new steps of support. The United States plans to continue supplying modern weaponry, air defense systems, artillery and cruise missiles, as well as strengthening Ukraine's defensive infrastructure. According to preliminary plans, in 2025 to 2026, the volume of military aid could amount to several $billion. Among European countries, Germany and France are preparing to supply armored vehicles and ammunition and are also expanding their training programs for Ukrainian military personnel in their own training centers. Poland and the Baltic countries are considering the possibility of providing additional equipment and conducting joint exercises to enhance the combat readiness of Ukrainian forces. In addition, the allies are working on plans for the long-term integration of new air defense systems and artillery complexes, so that Ukraine can create a resilient defense network and prepare for a potential escalation from Russia. As part of humanitarian aid, there are plans to expand programs for infrastructure restoration, medical support, and training of specialists to work in crisis conditions.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine today. Join us now.
Shock? Trump strikes a blow against Putin. This statement by the US leader exploded online. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian armed forces are destroying Russia's strategic facilities. Drones are striking right at the heart of Russia. And very soon new weapons that could turn the tide of the war are on the way. Watch all the sensational details right now.
Good Ukrainian drones paid a visit to the Plasmas military plant near Chelyabinsk. As a result, a powerful explosion rocked the site. The facility manufactures and disposes of munitions. It is reported that at night, UAVs attacked Ryazan and Skopin. Eyewitnesses saw a fire. It is likely that the target of the attack was the Diaghilevo airfield and the oil refinery. The occupiers are also feeling the heat at the front. Paratroopers liberated the village of Rivyar in the Dobropilya direction and captured more than 50 Russians. The liberation
of this settlement is the continuation. The successful actions of Ukraine's defense forces in the Dobropilya direction are currently neutralizing the situation. This comes after a Russian breakthrough deep into Ukrainian positions.
The situation is dire in the city of Pokrovsk, which is under attack by the Russian army. According to the military, evacuation from the city is practically impossible, and civilians can only leave the area on foot.
At this point, the fighting is already direct and close. Practically in the center of Pokrovsk, in the area of the railway station, Ukrainian defense forces are destroying small assault groups of Russian occupiers. The occupiers are trying to disperse the Ukrainian defense forces, in order to create so-called local pockets, operational encirclements of our units.
Not only Ukraine is involved. The British Navy intercepted a Russian warship, the destroyer Admiral Kulakov, in its territorial waters. This was reported by
Sky News is the leading news channel that provides live coverage of important events and stories from around the world. As a trusted source for breaking news and analysis, Sky News delivers timely and accurate information to its viewers. They have redeployed a nuclear arsenal on the territory of Great Britain.
The Polish foreign minister suggested that Ukrainian forces destroy another target that fuels the Russian war machine, namely by blowing up the Druzhba oil pipeline.
The Polish side is well aware that the operation of the Russian Druzhba oil pipeline means financing. First and foremost, the active phase of hostilities on the territory of our country.
The Donald Trump administration lifted a key restriction on Ukraine's use of long-range missiles, which had been imposed by Western allies. This effectively allows Kiev to strike targets on Russian territory and increases military pressure on the Kremlin, according to the Wall Street Journal. Commenting on the information circulated by journalists, Trump noted that Ukraine is using European missiles, and he cannot control this. The American president also described the intentions of the Russian dictator.
I have always felt that he wants all of Ukraine, not just a part of it. Now I think he will want to enter into negotiations. I think he will agree. We'll see.
On the morning of October 23rd, the European Union announced the approval of the 19th package of sanctions against Russia. It is aimed at restricting the export of liquefied natural gas and at controlling the activities of the shadow fleet used for transporting oil. The measures will also affect Russian banks, cryptocurrency exchanges, and companies in China and India that have helped Moscow circumvent previous sanctions. By the way, due to the budget deficit, the Russian Ministry of Defense has already started to cut costs. For now, they will be saving on items ranging from paper and cartridges to building materials. And
what do you think about the latest events? Share your thoughts in the comments. Like the video to stay updated on the main news. Coming up next.